We have recognized that each one has his Egypt, the outer manifestation of his being, and we have recognized that Egypt can partake of the nature of the world, or it can partake of the nature of the divine design. Any human being who is turning to God, beginning to yield and respond, begins to bring forth the manifest form of the only begotten Son of God. The Christ Spirit begins to bring forth or establish in form through each one that which is of God. And when it begins to appear, as it is beginning to appear through yourselves, it is as a babe. And because it carries the nature of the positive expression of God, it is symbolized in the biblical pattern as a boy baby. The individual who then reacts and turns in the wrong direction, responds to the patterns of this world, destroys first his or her own baby or son. The beginning of the manifestation of the form of the expression of the only begotten Son of God through the individual in the pattern of life. But once having committed murder in this respect, the human being, and I've seen it many times, begins to take the attitude that he or she has nothing to lose anyway. Of course, there is no real consciousness of all the steps involved, but it is the pattern. And such an one then begins to try to destroy the positive expression of the Spirit of God through others by talking, by doing, by insidious misrepresentation, by doing everything that he or she can to discourage others and to poison the minds and hearts of all who will listen. And so I have seen human beings in this day and age become obedient to the Pharaoh, the conscious mind which knows not Joseph the Lord, and as a result begin to destroy as many of the boy babies, the manifestation of the positive expression of the Spirit of God, as possible. And it's a sad thing. In your ministry or service, wherever you may be, in whatever capacity in serving God, you will be under the necessity of dealing with such things. It's one of the sad aspects of ministry, and one of the things which tends to upset one's pattern of polarity unless there is an awareness of the principles involved and unless one stays steady in center. And those who reach this point of trying to be a servant of Pharaoh have an uncanny ability to perceive those who are weakest, those who are most likely to yield to the wrong influence, those who are most likely to become subject to the poison which they spread. And very often it works out on a basis where there is very little that you can do about it. If you try to arbitrarily convince such people, they will become more suspicious, more rebellious. They'll twist and turn whatever you say into a pattern of condemnation and self-justification. And so all too often, unless someone has the courage to come directly to you when such things are in operation, there's nothing that you can do but stay centered, hold steady, and let it work. But there is this, which is always a point to remember and to cause one to take courage. As it was at the time of Herod, that the protection of the Lord carried the focus of the only begotten Son of God down into Egypt, out of harm's reach, so are those who will stay truly centered, those who are obedient to the direction of the Spirit, protected in Egypt from the onslaught of such a false king. And also we are beginning to consider a story here, the story of Moses. It moves immediately in the pattern, the portrayal, from the story of Joseph to the story of Moses. The story of the birth of Moses is very interesting and significant, because we see that Pharaoh had done his best to establish a pattern which would prevent the development of a leader for the children of Israel. If all the boy babies were destroyed and the girl babies were kept as slaves, there wouldn't be any chance for a leader to develop. And that is a typical pattern in the world. You find that the moment you begin to step forth in the pattern of ministry, you begin to run into that situation. For the children of God are in slavery in Egypt today, just as surely as in the days of Moses. We have, in principle, in pattern, exactly the same situation today. And as mentioned here that they served with rigor, look out into the world pattern. It's on a little different basis, it has a little different form, and instead of a whip held in the hand, there's the whip of the paycheck. Instead of a lash that is actually placed upon the back of the slave, the lash, the whip that is held in the hand is the paycheck. And out of the same pattern of slavery, the children of Israel, the children of God, must be delivered today. And we have in our ministry, in our service, exactly the same problems that were present at the time of the children of Israel in Egypt. We must use exactly the same principles insofar as there was proper response and proper function. We can, or we should at least, we can avoid the mistakes that were made because they've been clearly outlined. But once you begin to realize that our problem today in service is exactly the same problem that was present at that time. We have the same conditions of slavery, the same conditions wherein the positive expression of the Spirit of God is in danger of being slain by one of Pharaoh's servants, the self-active mind of man. The minute any human being begins to move into a pattern of spiritual life, and bring forth the form of the Spirit of God on earth, there are those who will seek to destroy it. And it takes a certain amount of courage, a certain amount of honesty, a certain degree of basic devotion for you or anyone to move along that path. And once you reach a point of adequate realization so that you can truly serve, this is one of the things which you will remember and will cause you to be exceedingly patient. For you will be aware of all these forces that are brought to bear in order to destroy the budding manifestation of the positive expression of the Spirit of God through those whom you serve. Over and over again you will be disappointed. You will see human beings with promise and ability become subject to Pharaoh. You'll see them turn away, see them go down. You can't follow them. You can perhaps undertake to call to them, stop them if they will listen. But if they're bound and determined to go, all you can do is let them go. Those who let their lives be truly dedicated to service have these sorrows to meet, and they are not sorrows so much with respect to what you may have to endure as an individual. And sometimes that may not be altogether pleasant. But your real sorrows, the sadness with which you will have to contend, has to do with those who take the blessings of God for granted for a little time, refuse to let the seed of truth go deeply into the soil of the heart, so that when the first hot day comes along, it withers and is gone. So often one has to be immune to the process of turning away, working through members of one's own family. How did the Master put it? One shall be taken and the other left. Very dear friends, loved ones. And if one responds to such things as develop in such a case, one loses one's own polarity and fails. And this is one of the reasons, one of many, of course, why it is so important we let ourselves become truly centered and stay steady and practice the art of living in the pattern of the divine design. Because sooner or later you will face that issue. And those who have turned away from my ministry are greater in number than those who remain. And I love them and serve them as I love and serve you. But the number of those who have come under subjection to Pharaoh, turned back into slavery, denied the blessings of God, and betrayed and fought against God, I've never known one to come back. I've never known one to find peace or to know the joys of life. But I wouldn't want to take the positive position that it cannot be. All I can say is I've never seen it. I hope that perhaps something may work out someday to break that vicious pattern, but it's not been done yet. But the larger hope is this, that those who begin to respond shall not turn away. And so, even though there is such sadness and sorrow at times in the pattern of ministry, even though you see human beings go down needlessly and suffer needlessly, and throw away the richest and greatest blessings in life, you have to remain steady, unmoved, no matter who it is, no matter how much such a person is loved, no matter what great potentiality rests in that person. By reason of such things, I have seen the things that I have built in ministry torn down and destroyed until I had to begin again out of the ashes, out of the ruins. Several times in my ministry, that has already taken place. I trust it will never be again. But it isn't a pleasant thing to hold steady when it appears that there is no hope. There's no possible way, is the important thing. Because if you do hold steady, it'll open one way or another. And I would this morning that you deeply realize this point. And if sometime in the future you yourself come under pressure, or you are ministering with someone who is under pressure, remember to be patient and hold steady. Hold steady and let it work. Merely because someone else violates, betrays, and undertakes to destroy, we cannot betray God's trust in us. And as we begin the study of the children of Israel in Egypt, let us remember that we are dealing with exactly the same problems. Human beings in the same pattern of slavery, the same cruel king, the same difficulties. If the world can help it, no leader shall arise to serve the children of God. That has been true down through the centuries. And every leader who has come through to the point of actually doing something in the world has had to face this fact, that the consciousness of the world, the prince of this world, or the patterns of the world, however you want to put it, so function, and they have the backing of millions and millions of Christians, millions and millions of good, sincere people. If the world can help it, no leader shall arise and become known on earth to the children of God. Pharaoh always does his best, no matter what ruthless action he may think he has to take in desperation. He does his best to see to it there shall be no leader for the children of God on earth. And the children of God have been without a leader, any true shepherd, so much of the time down through these thousands of years, because of this very fact, And when our Master himself was on earth and began to reveal the reality of that leadership, they crucified him. The same old determination of Pharaoh and Herod. There shall be no leader for the children of God. Leaders for the opposition, yes. Leaders of all kinds for Pharaoh and Herod. The children of this world set out to be a leader for the children of this world, and the way will be open before you for wealth and fame and position. But set out to be a leader in the cause of our God. And if you do not stay centered, do not hold faithful and true to the truth, you will never reach the point of leadership, not if the world can help it. And we are here to save a world of human beings who will do everything in their power to prevent the manifestation of leadership which would make their own salvation possible. That sounds like it would be ridiculous, but it's the sad fact. We've been up against this for 20,000 years. I've been on earth in many bodies, in many forms, in many places, and worked through many things. In order to help clear this pattern. I think most of you, if all of you, not all of you, realize that the body of Joseph was one of my bodies. The body of Moses was one of my bodies. The story of Joseph is my story. The story of Moses is my story, just to mention two of them. Over and over again, down through the thousands of years, there are circumstances working out in the vibrational pattern of the universe itself, which will bring things to a crisis and force issues. And man is going to have to accept the responsibility. But in this issue that is being drawn now, there is need for those who will share the responsibilities of true, unwavering, dedicated, devoted leadership. Over and over again already in my ministry on earth, in this body, the world has sought to destroy any possibility of my coming to a point of leadership. And if you undertake to share the responsibilities of ministry with me, the responsibilities of leadership, you'll find that the world tends to do the same thing to you. And so, the real value of our studies here, the story of Joseph, and now beginning the story of Moses, is that you may be so oriented, have such a deep realization of the workings of the power and the Spirit of God on earth, that you may function effectively, that you may be forewarned and forearmed, that you may see the mistakes that were made in the past and avoid them, and so that you may, of a truth, be a disciple of our Lord and King and serve Him, and be not a partaker of the spirit of Judas who betrayed, or the spirit of Peter who denied our Lord. When the Lord begins to work out the pattern to raise up a leader for the children of God on earth, he always finds a way for those who will be obedient to the Spirit of God and yield and trust. And here the pattern worked out so that Moses was raised in Pharaoh's own house. That's typical of the way the Lord does things. Moses was raised as Pharaoh's own grandson. And he grew up in his own house and was educated on the basis of the best that Egypt could offer. He was raised in the court of Egypt as a royal family. He went to the schools and universities, had the highest education that the world could then afford. And so the Lord raised up a leader to the children of Israel, the children of God, and he did it in Pharaoh's own house, right in Egypt, where the pattern of slavery was all about and where they were destroying the boy babies. Perhaps sometime when you are under pressure in your ministry or service, you'll remember that. The Lord has his ways of doing things. And if the Lord could raise up a leader to the children of Israel, right in Pharaoh's own house, give him a position of Pharaoh's grandson, well, then the Lord can do almost anything. If we just give him a chance, if we hold steady. Most people, when it begins to look black, difficult, begin to look for a place to turn and run. You know, the first creatures to leave a sinking ship are the rats. The first creatures to leave a sinking ship are the rats. In any case, it's the ability to hold steady when it does look black. The ability to face issues when it looks as if there is no way out. You saw that same pattern worked out in the story of Joseph, others before him. And you see it again and again. There's so many people, when they begin to get under pressure, when they can't see with a human vision just how or where, they're ready to turn and run. And so often, if they would just hold steady a little more, generally speaking, for those that have any real quality at all, they have come so close to victory. It's right at the door. Just a little more, and they would be over the top. And I've seen human beings time after time. Sometimes if they'd hold steady just a few more minutes even. I've actually seen that. Situations where if a human being had held steady for another 30 minutes, there would have been obvious victory. Over and over again when it was merely a matter of hours or days. And then see them turn and run. Get frightened and quit. Turn yellow. It's a matter of holding steady, remaining true. And remember that if we do that, the Lord will find the way. One of the things that we need to begin to truly realize is that wherever we turn in the Lord's service, there are going to be barriers for some little time to come. No way of saying how long. And even if I knew, I wouldn't tell you. But there are going to be barriers, walls, difficulties, at best. And when it appears that there's a wall in front of you, perhaps you can begin to see it coming up, as it were, as you're drawing closer to it. Learn to keep right on going. Learn to walk right up to the walls? No. If you walk up to the wall, how close would you get to the wall? 100 yards or 10 yards or 6 feet? You walk up close to the wall and stop and wait for the wall to vanish. It doesn't work that way. You learn to walk not up to the walls, you learn to walk right through them. And if you think you can't, you're wrong. You don't just stop when there's a wall over there, a wall of circumstance and vibrational factor. Of course, there are those elements of discretion and understanding with respect to maneuvering, which are essential. But as far as the walls are concerned, you don't just stop and camp by the wall. You keep right on going. And you'll find that when you get right up to it, pressing against it, it opens. Or you find suddenly that it just looked like there was a wall. Anyone round about would have sworn there was a wall. When you get up there close enough, it begins to move back. Did you ever chase a rainbow? Try to catch up with it? Keeps getting away just as fast as you try to get to it. Of course, that's the rainbow of promise. But the principle is the same. The barriers give way. If we are working centered in God, properly responsive to the divine and hold steady, the barriers give way. That's one of the lessons to be learned in the story of a happening after the children of Israel began to move into the promised land. You remember there was a certain city where the walls fell down, Jericho. Well, whenever there are Jericho walls, they'll fall if you function correctly. When we get to that, we'll study some of the basic principles that are involved, and it's of vital importance and interest. But remember that if you quit merely because you think you see a wall in front of you, and you think, well, I can't get over it, I know I can't climb over it, I can't do anything, I'll just have to quit and camp right here, or else go back. Don't be deluded. Keep right on going. And the wall will open or prove to just be a mirage. Perhaps it isn't even there, it just looks like it. Hold it steady and keep going. It's the only way to victory. If walls can stop you, you'll be stopped. If human beings can upset you, you'll be upset. If discouragement can turn you aside, you'll be turned aside. That's the situation. If walls can stop you, you'll be stopped. It's only for those who refuse to be stopped by any wall and who keep right on going that there can be a true sharing in the victory. With respect to this initial phase of the story of Moses, we might well note that the Levites were the members of the priesthood. The members of the priesthood. Moses was not a Jew. Let us remember that too. Only the children of Judah were Jews. All the children of Israel were Hebrews. But Moses was not a Jew. He was a Levite. And both his father and mother were of the house of Levi. Now, at first they were spoken of as the houses, later the tribes. And she called his name Moses, and she said, because I drew him out of the water. And water is the symbol of truth. And always, when you begin to find the pattern of the Spirit of God's leadership in relationship to yourself, in yourself, through yourself, that which is the divine expression, it is drawn out of the water, out of the truth. The emphasis, be true to the truth, and so shall you come to know the victory.